When I helped with the video Bird Trouble, my feathered friends whistled me a tune because they were concerned. And I can not whistle and interpret at the same time, but they wanted me to give you a message. So the best I could do is going to appear in subtitles while I whistle you the tune that they gave me. And it goes kind of like this. Now, if you watched the video Bird Trouble, you know that populations of our birds in North America have declined by 30% in the last 50 years. You also know that the reasons why it happened, everything from habitat loss, the big one, to cat predation, glass in buildings, car and truck collisions, towers, electrocution, pesticides. We have created a lot of problems for them. None of those problems for birds have gone away. And now we get to watch climate change throw the monkey wrench into what's already a mess. If we do nothing but watch, the ranges of 150 bird species will shrink, and probably 26 will be gone from where we live. And you also know from the Birds Rock video that as the birds go, we go as well. They are critical to our survival. They're gone, we're gone. They need our help. We have caused nearly all of their problems, and we are the only ones who can fix them. But here's the good news you wanted to hear. We can. We all can. And it won't even be that hard. The trick is to think big, but start small. At home, in the yard. It doesn't matter where you live. You can make your place better for the birds. A question. What would make you happy other than galactic domination? Well, as you probably suspected, there's been a study on that. Some German scientists, go figure, studied thousands of people across all of Europe, and they found that a 10% increase in the number of bird species where they live makes them just as happy as a 10% increase in their salary. There's a direct correlation between the diversity of bird species outside your door and your feelings of security and well-being. Nature conservation not only keeps us alive, it also keeps us happy. Deep down, we know we have an instinct about what is good for us. So these are the things you can do in your house and just outside of your house to protect the birds you already have. Starting first with the things that will make the biggest differences. Number 1, keep your kitty inside all the time. This one, as you learned from Bird Trouble, will make a big difference in your neighborhood. And if everybody in North America did just that, we would save close to 1 billion birds every year. Despite what you think, it is not cruel to keep your cat inside because it is safer. Stray and feral cats, which are nobody's kitties, present a worse problem because they kill at least twice as many birds as owned cats. But then again, who can own a cat? There are spay, neuter, and release programs that are gaining steam, but the release part means that they just go back to hunting birds. This may make some of us feel good, but it is not a solution. So do your part to reduce the number of cats outside hunting birds. Number 2 in bird protection, make your windows bird-friendly. Collisions with window glass kill 600 million birds each year. Tall glass buildings are a big problem, of course, killing many more birds than the average house with windows. But there are millions more houses than tall buildings. So what we do matters. 42% of bird collisions happen at your house and mine. With the window, we want to see out and let light in. Birds have 2 problems with that. If the glass is clean and mirrors the sky and the trees, birds just want to fly through that big rectangle to land in a tree on the other side at full speed. Thunk! It is especially bad when birds can see into one window and out another on the other side of the room or the house. Problem is, there are a lot of solutions out there that just don't work terribly well. Blackbird silhouettes help some, but the silhouette needs to be on the outside of the window. Tempera paintings on the windows are not terribly helpful, plus you can't see out when part of the window is covered. A few solutions so far have shown to be more effective. You can purchase rolls or sheets of translucent dots to affix about 2 inches apart on problem windows. It has been shown that songbirds won't attempt to fly through openings smaller than 2 inches high by 4 inches wide. Vertical strands of monofilament or small cording also work, and the closer to 2 inches apart, the more effective they will be. Bird netting, made for protecting fruit trees, works very well if it is stretched over a frame more than 8 or 10 inches from the window. Then the bird safely bounces off. The American Bird Conservancy tests and ranks all the commercial products available, so do your research. There is no solution so far that is totally visible to birds and totally invisible to we humans. But new research is promising on clear ultraviolet light reflecting strips, which are nearly invisible to humans, but visible to birds who see ultraviolet light really well. So if you are serious about helping birds this way with your windows, you might want to consider making some tiny sacrifices in how much you can see outside the window. Number 3, out in the yard and the garden. Avoid pesticides. Anything that kills insects will also kill birds in 2 ways. Birds depend on insects. Even the seed eaters need these protein-rich insects to feed their chicks. If insects go away, so do the birds. Pesticides can take away their critical food supply. Secondly, many insect poisons also pass through insects to birds and kill birds directly. A group of poisons called neonicotinoids, derivatives of nicotine, are especially bad for both insects and birds. Even in non-fatal doses, they affect migrating birds' ability to navigate and orient themselves. Really, what part of the word poison sounds good to you? Do your research and get creative to find other ways to protect your plants. Once you have checked and identified the critters eating your vegetables, you can use insect netting and row covers. Companion planting, plants like marigolds and nasturtiums repel insects. You can rotate crops. Healthy plants can handle being munched upon nicely. Diatomaceous earth is a dust with sharp edges, and it deters insects. Horticultural oils and soaps work well. Spinosad is a natural organic compound discovered in a Caribbean rum distillery of all places, which only kills the insects like aphids that eat the leaves of your plants. No collateral damage to other bugs. Sluggo is a natural, otherwise harmless product that makes slugs eat themselves to death. Number 4, practice restoration ecology. Some of our deepest thinkers, like E.O. Wilson and hundreds of scientists in the Conservation Science Partners, say we have to set a goal of permanently preserving 30% of our natural land by 2030. That is 30 by 30, if we want to keep over 90% of our species on this continent. If that goal is reached, they think we should shoot for 50 by 50. The reason is that wild natural areas constitute our life support system, supplying fresh water, oxygen, food, pollination, seed dispersal, pest control to the land that we have tamed. Shutting that source off would be exactly like closing all the supply valves on the International Space Station. Life without water and oxygen would be unpleasant. What will really help birds in your yard is native plants. Birds have spent tens of millions of years tuning their digestion and the timing of their nesting and chick rearing to the cycles of native insects. It gets crazy specific. The hatching of a particular caterpillar determines exactly when a bird has enough food to feed its hatchlings. So the insect cycles determine the bird cycles. But here's the problem. Those specific insects and caterpillars feed on specific native plants. If your yard is full of non-native plants that do not grow there normally, you'll have the wrong insects, the wrong timing, and fewer birds. It's all connected, and it starts with native plants. They have been connected for millions of years. So landscaping with non-native plants means they will have to go elsewhere for their chow. With our help, I'm talking you and me, this would not be that hard. Restoring some of the 63,000 square miles of lawn in our country alone must be done one lawn at a time. But not all of it. I still want to watch football, baseball, and soccer. The idea is to create more habitat by restoring our own property to a more natural state. In addition to planting natives and reducing lawn, we can add trickling water sources and shallow pools, nest boxes and platforms, and feed birds in the winter. But that last one is tricky. If you choose to feed birds, who are a constant source of entertainment and that sense of well-being I've mentioned, you cannot stop feeding them suddenly. Once they become acclimated to your source, it is difficult for them to adjust to that source suddenly being gone. You are committed for the duration of the winter. It is also helpful to taper off the amount you feed them in the spring. Once leaves and insects start showing, they won't need to be supplemented. I live in bear country, where it is doubly important to not feed birds while bears are awake from hibernation. Feeders can attract bears, and they too become acclimated to your food source. Also, feeders can't handle 300-pound flightless fuzzy birds. Number 5. You can help birds a lot as a bird smart consumer. If you drink coffee, look for shade-grown organic coffee. It should have shade-grown on the label. The term simply means that the rainforest, where 40% of our birds spend the winter, has not been denuded for cattle, sun-grown coffee, bananas, or pineapples. There is a difference between shade-grown coffee under a planted monoculture of 1 or 2 species of trees than that under a diverse natural forest. To get the Smithsonian Museum's label of bird-friendly, coffee must come from the shade of a diverse forest and be grown organically so birds and insects haven't been subjected to pesticides. Like shade-grown coffee, certified organic food costs a bit more, but it means that your birds have been less subjected to pesticides somewhere else, and you have as well. Increasingly, birds have been found dead with their digestive systems clogged or even plugged with plastics. Bird digestive systems work really well with real food, liquefying things as they go through, coming out the other end as guano. I have memories about that. Guano passes through their digestive systems easily, except for plastics. They get stuck and they stay. As a bird smart consumer, avoiding plastics is nearly impossible. But we could start by reducing single-use plastics. The questions to ask are, do I need this plastic item? Can't I recycle this plastic, or can I reuse it? Remember, it's for the birds and for the fish and turtles and others, and well, you get the picture. Number 6, become a citizen scientist. Most of the important work on bird populations has come from people just like you. Christmas bird counts, breeding bird surveys, Project Feeder Watch, Great Backyard Bird Count, eBird counts on your phone. All of these sources combine to give us an ongoing picture of how our birds are doing. Birdwatching is ecotherapy. It's fun, good for the soul, good for birds. And when someone asks you what you're doing, you can say, I'm working. All of these things can be done at your house, in your yard, and at the grocery store. But you have to get to the grocery store and back. Which brings me to number 7. Walk more, bike more, drive less. Not only do you get in better shape doing this, but you will kill fewer birds by vehicle collisions. As of now, that averages about 214 million birds per year, killed by cars, buses, and trucks. So doing the math, if we all cut our driving by just 10%, that would save 21.4 million birds every year. Small changes, big results. You can also help solve the biggest problem on the horizon, the effects of a warming climate on birds, by driving less. There are literally dozens of ways to reduce your energy use, just turning things off and unplugging the converters and appliances that have a standby power setting, also called vampires because they slowly suck the life out of our present climate. They make a big difference. Number 8. If you also happen to be interested in the bigger picture, helping migrating birds and conserving breeding areas on a larger scale, you can become an activist. Some problems for birds can't be solved at home. If you're willing to write letters for birds, make phone calls for birds, even testify at hearings for birds, here is a short list of big changes by those in elected authority that you could choose as your cause. A. Push for building regulations requiring bird-friendly glass in new tall buildings and retrofitting old ones. This could eventually make a 500 million bird difference in bird mortality. B. Push hard for accelerated conversion from fossil fuels to cleaner alternative sources. This will slow climate warming and create millions of jobs before corresponding job losses in the oil, gas, and coal industries. The conversion will be nearly painless if we can combine it with government-sponsored retraining. This is really a sooner better than later conversion. The curve of climate change is steepening. Look up exponential growth. Increased violent weather, droughts, famine, political strife, loss of native habitat and biodiversity, loss of land area to rising sea levels, lots of it on coastal cities. All of these results of climate change do not paint a pretty picture for our well-being, let alone the well-being of our critically important birds. C. Make towers and power lines safer. The best research suggests blinking white lights, not steady red lights, work better for bird safety and safer aviation. D. Push for reduced light pollution at night. Many birds migrate at night and are confused by light from inside of buildings or ultra-bright lighting from all-night gas stations and auto dealerships, and the lack of subtle external lighting on deadly communication towers and power lines. E. Elect people into authority positions who are willing to listen and open to changing their minds. Politicians who think they know it all already are flat out dangerous. Just say no to ideologues. Liberal or conservative are pretty unimportant labels compared to willing to listen and learn. In fact, asking that of the person in the mirror might be a good idea too. F. Do your homework. For all things bird, you can't do better than these. The National Audubon Society. They are a treasure trove of information on bird counts, native plants and birds, interactive climate change projections. Check out Survival by Degrees. Cornell Laboratory of Ornithology. Birds of North America website, eBird and collected data maps, all about birds website, Helping Birds brochures, literally everything about bird natural history. Montana Audubon, Montana research, statewide advocacy, habitat improvement projects. American Bird Conservancy. They are especially good at gleaning the best solutions to bird threats, like ranking bird-friendly glass. Flathead Audubon Society. Local bird happenings and news, educational trunks, videos like this one, presentations, many field trips, trivia games, local bird of the month article archives, opinion columns, unusual sightings. Lots to explore here, including print it yourself checklist for your refrigerator that you can use to remind yourself what you do for birds. And of course, get out there and let birds entertain you. It's addictive. They're beautiful, they're musical, and they are the best and one of the oldest sources of joy on the planet. And don't forget to thank them for their critical roles in keeping us alive and happy. They will pay you back many times over.